name placards and everything. Before I get started, go ahead and take a deep breath. We're going to have some fun. Okay? Move a little bit forward in your chair. You're comfortable. And feel free to pull out your phone, tweet, text, talk about this stuff as much as you'd like. Because we're going to talk a little bit about relationships. Not the sweaty palm, pit in my stomach, can't eat, can't sleep, need to update my Facebook profile to say single, no longer relationships. But the powerful relationships that develop between organizations and people, brands. Now, any productive discussion about brand development, branding, any phrase with the word B-R-A-N-D in it, has to start with definitions. After all, there have been a myriad of definitions floated out into our business lexicon to try and define exactly what a brand is. But at their heart lies a simple and underlying truth, that a brand is a relationship between an organization and an audience. It's a relationship because it's how we, as intuitive and emotional and sensitive beings, relate to the world around us. It's how we form allegiances to organizations. And it's how we become passionate about the causes, companies, products, and organizations that we choose to engage with. A logo, a color scheme, an identity system are just surface elements of something much deeper happening below ground, and that's the relationship. And these relationships are the foundation for any organization, or a foundation, not the foundation, a foundation for any organization to develop value in today's world. Oh, hey, it's working. So, the way in which we develop these relationships today is broken. What worked for Coke isn't going to work for Dropbox. What worked for Wells Fargo isn't going to work for Square. And what worked for Ford is certainly not working for Tesla. The world has changed in dramatic and wonderful ways all around us. And yet the way that we approach brand development has remained relatively the same. And at the heart of this broken system is this cultural narrative of creative brilliance that I call the myth of the brand genius. There it is. The myth tells us this story of a brand genius, if given the right creative environment and if paid the right fee, will work out a world-class brand to hand back over to the organization to simply execute upon. And at the heart of the brand genius is this process, typically proprietary, typically using some kind of fanciful language, and typically rooted deeply in the factory think of industrialization. In the factory, A plus B plus C equals a product. In brand development, a logo plus a brand promise plus a color scheme, so on and so forth, will eventually equal out to be a brand. How many of you have had or gone through a process similar to that? That's what I thought. And as much as my colleagues may flinch and do flinch at what I'm about to say, the truly great brands today are no longer being developed on the 40th floor high-rise of a Madison Avenue building. That's because truly great brand development is not about our genius. It's not about our creative brilliance. It's not about a linear process. Truly great brand development today is about the discovery of value in the relationship between people and organizations. And this shift away from process, away from brilliance, and towards value has rendered the brand genius obsolete, which means we need new thinking, right? We need a new lens. We need a new way to develop brands. Brand, meet lean. Whereas the conventional process favored execution through a process managed by a brand genius, lean brand development favors innovation through experimentation managed only by what you can learn and validate in the market. The purpose of a lean brand is to discover the value that's being created and to form a foundation for a strong and sustainable relationship for you with your audience. To do that, we have to experiment. And experimentation revolves around three simple questions. 1, what do we need to learn? 2, how can we measure? And 3, what can we build at a minimum level in order to generate some sort of learning? Enter the build, measure, learn feedback loop. How many of you have read Lean Startup? A few? Great. Leanne has. That's good. Lean Startup uses this build, measure, learn feedback loop so that you can learn in a validated way. And the first step to the loop is to enter the build phase as quickly as possible. And we do this in brand development through a minimum viable brand. A minimum viable brand distills the relationship between you and your audience down to its most important parts: story, artifact, and invitation. A story is just that, your story. Why you? Why do you matter? Who are you? What change are you trying to make in the world? An artifact is the projection of that story and the reflection of the relationship being developed. Whether it's a pink mustache on a car or an immersive experience at Google's campus, an artifact's goal is to engage somebody with your story and to reflect the relationship they're forming with you. And finally, invitation. An invitation is much more than simple messaging. An invitation is how you invite people to join you. The context, the medium, what you say, how you say it, where you show up, all matter to how people respond to you. What we don't need is more sales messages. What we don't need is more marketing. What we do need is to inspire people to join us, inspire people to become a part of us, and inspire people to make the changes that we want to make together. That's a minimum viable brand. We put that in a neat package. We move it around a build, measure, learn feedback loop. And we generate learnings, preserve the pieces that work, iterate on the pieces that don't, until you're able to form a foundation for that relationship. No logo or color scheme or brand genius can ever give you a valuable relationship. Only experimentation, only learning can do that. A lean brand trades execution for innovation. It trades the genius for validated learning. And a lean brand changes the way that you approach the relationships that you form with your audience. If we can change the approach, we can change the relationship. Inspire people to be passionate. Inspire people to join. Which means that we can change the world. That's a lean brand. So, are you guys up to make one with me? Show you how easy this is? That's weak. Are you guys up to do this with me? Okay, that's what I thought. So let's do it. I'm going to ask you 2 questions, very simple questions. I want you to sit back. You're already sitting back. Relax. Take a deep breath. Think about these for a second. And I want you to try and distill your answer down to a single word, powerful word that means something to you. Okay? Got it? So take that deep breath. Here's the first question. What are you fighting against? What can you no longer stand for? What do you want to see eliminated, eradicated? What are you fighting against? Got your answer? Give me a little nod if you've got an answer there. I see no nods, so no one. Okay, there's some nods. All right, nods. All right, so hold on to that. Don't lose it. Ask the second question. What are you fighting for? What's the change you want to see in the world? What's the impact you want to make? Why do you get up in the morning, drive to the office or the coffee shop for some of us, and put in 12 hours? What are you fighting for? When you've got it, give me a nice nod so I know that we can move on. Yeah? Good, good. Okay, take another deep breath. Unslouch your back. Move to the front of your seat. Come on, move to the front. Stand up. Why not? Stand up, right? We need some energy in this room. We have to bring energy back into the relationships we developed. We have to bring entropy back into our brand development. We can no longer accept the myth of creative brilliance. That does not create a relationship. Your passion, who you are, matters. And synchronicity between who you are and knowing that and who your audience wants to become is where brand relationships are formed. So I'm going to ask you that question again, and I want you, not silently, not quietly, not politely, I want you to yell at the top of your lungs your answer to that question. I want to hear it loudly, okay? Everyone's cool with that? So what are you fighting against? War. I'm not inspired to join you. I don't want to join your party if that's as good as you can get, right? I want to change the world with you. What are you fighting against? Good. Good. And what are you fighting for? Let's do it all over again. What are we fighting against? Good. You ready? I'll give you a countdown this time. What are you fighting for? 3, 2, 1. Good. That is your brand. Now validate whether or not that matters. Can you get one person to care about that? Great. Can you get 2 people? Awesome. How about 5 people? Who's passionate about that? And why? That's brand development. That's how you can change the world. Your story matters. Now, to form your minimum viable brand, you can sit down if you'd like. To form your minimum viable brand, it's very simple. Put your best thinking around how do we tell that story. I heard we're fighting against war. How do we tell that story? I saw a stop sign that said stop, a simple sticker, war. It's an artifact. How do you tell that story? And then how do you invite people to join you? How do you inspire them to be a part? Test, learn, preserve what works, iterate what doesn't. That's brand development today, and that's the lean brand. My name's Jeremiah Gardner. I wrote a book about this called The Lean Brand, and I'll be, I think, right across the way talking about this stuff a little bit more. Thank you so much for having me.